It does. Hey. It actually works.
That's right.
What a shocker.
Very shocker.
And it's just like 2 days ago, your YouTube told me to retire. Please, like, screw you, I just close it and go back in.
Oh, ow. Hi, you guys. How are you?
Good morning, Meredith.
Hi.
I love your Kim Possible shirt.
Oh, thank you.
It was an idol for me.
Oh,
As
yes.
a redhead, I obviously was like, oh my god, another redhead.
Yeah, I was like older than my viewing experience.
I'm Mary Show. I used to watch it every Saturday morning.
Oh, did you?
It's back when it was on Channel 33.
And yeah, I just know I never watched it, so it was all that was all after my child watching or cartoon watching days. At the time, I was watching other stuff.
Then it was on Disney Channel, and then they did it on Freeform and Disney XD and all
There's a
that.
movie.
Oh, the movie stank.
Oh,
I
really?
don't like the movie.
Oh, okay. Didn't like it, huh?
Yeah, this shirt I got Five Below.
Yeah, you. Okay. Hope you brought a coat in there. It's going to be cold.
Really?
5 below.
Oh, okay.
You get it? 5 below.
Har har.
It's cold, you know. It's below freezing. Well, if you got a coat, then. Hope you got a coat, then. It's cold out there. That's Red River of the South. That's not a river. That is. Shut up. Mm.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, do you want to open or you want me to open?
I'll have you open.
Okay.
I'm still new, Tony. I'm shy,
fine.
Tony. I'm shy.
Coffee's not hot enough anymore.
Oh no, girl.
I was trying to make the hair look extra good. And
It looks good.
thank you. Oh,
The time is 10 a.m.
thank you for tuning in to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. My name is Tony and I'm here with Madeline. We invite you to listen to our broadcasts both live and on demand. Our live sessions are available on the Blind Community Thrift Store YouTube channel Monday through Friday between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. each week. Additionally, you can access on-demand content through the Audio Reader Network, which offers a wide range of audio materials for the visually impaired community. To explore content from the Audio Reader Network, please visit www.reader.ku.edu. The site provides details about accessing content via Amazon Alexa, Audio Reader Network mobile app, and information on receiving a radio to listen to the broadcast by KSMU Radio. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio. Maddie, would you like to start us off this morning?
Yeah. Hi, good morning. Today I'm going to start us off with KSMU getting a $15,000 grant to expand Ozarks scrapbook storytelling. KSMU Ozarks Public Radio has received a $15,000 grant from the Missouri Humanities Council to support its storytelling initiative. Ozarks Scrapbook, according to community announcement. The Missouri Humanities Council, the only statewide agency in Missouri focused on humanities education, has been a state affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities since 1971. Ozarks Scrapbook is an evolution of the humanities storytellings of notable moments produced by Ozarks Alive founder Caitlin McConnell. In partnership with Ozarks Alive, McConnell will work with KSMU to expand the original series through a comprehensive production and distribution model. Here we have a picture of Caitlin McConnell provided by Missouri State University. She is sitting by a brookside, little babbling creek. She looks happy in her very fun spring sweater. There's always more to learn about the Ozarks, a place that's ever-changing and rich with tradition, McConnell said in the announcement. I think it's meaningful to share reflections of this region, particularly when they help us better understand where we are. I look forward to sharing even more of these stories and in new ways through Ozarks Scrapbook. Each story will be shared across multiple formats, including broadcast radio feature aired on KSMU, an extended on-demand audio version available online through podcast feeds, and a digital written storytelling that adds historical background and interpretation. The initiative will include strong visual components such as photography, archival materials, and custom infographics, along with short promotional videos and custom social media content. In addition, select stories will be adapted from the Ozarks Public Television broadcast, according to the announcement. This grant from Missouri Humanities Council allows us to deepen our commitment to meaningful place-based storytelling, KSMU News Director Michelle Skalicki said in the announcement. Ozarks Scrapbook builds on what made notable moments so impactful while expanding how and where audiences can engage with these stories. By combining audio, digital, and visual elements, we're able to bring a rich history and lived experience of the Ozarks into a way of life that are more accessible and compelling than ever before. KSMU General Manager Rachel Knight said that the initiative aligns with the station's goals of connecting communities through shared stories and trusted content. And here we have a beautiful green, blue, and red bridge of rural Dade County provided by Missouri State University. Beautiful blue sky, green trees, and a very rustic bridge. We're incredibly grateful to the Missouri Humanities Council for supporting this important initiative, Knight said in an announcement. Ozarks Scrapbook reflects our mission as public media to connect communities through shared stories and trusted content. This collaborative, multi-platform approach not only strengthens our reach, but also ensures that the cultural heritage of the Ozarks is preserved and shared with a broader and more diverse audience across the region. For more information about the Missouri Humanities Council grant program, call 314-781-9660 or 800-357-0909, or write to the MHC at 415 South 18th Street, Suite 100, St. Louis, Missouri. Looks like the zip code address is 63103-2269.
And it looks like there's a proposal to extend cannabis drive-through hours heading to Springfield City Council. Ryan Collins with the Springfield Daily Citizen says that a cannabis company with a Springfield dispensary has submitted a proposal to amend city code to allow cannabis dispensaries to operate drive-thrus until 1:30 a.m. The amended code would align cannabis laws with those regulating alcohol sales, the company said. The proposal had its first public hearing at the Planning and Zoning Commission on Thursday, June 11th. The commission voted to recommend approval of the text amendment to City Code to Springfield City Council with a vote of 5-2, with Commissioners Eric Pauley and Dan Scott voting against. The amendment will have its first reading in front of City Council on July 13th. The application to amend Springfield City Code was submitted by the operator of Terabis Dispensary, V3 Mo Vending 5, LLC. Currently, Springfield law dictates that drive-thrus are only operable during normal dispensary business hours from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. This is not the first time Terabis has submitted a proposal to amend City Code on dispensaries' drive-thru hours. In March, the company submitted a proposal to allow drive-thru sales 24 hours a day, but hit pause on the proposal to make changes based on the Planning and Zoning staff recommendation, according to previous Daily Citizen reporting. The reworked proposal would amend City Code to allow cannabis drive-thru operations to remain open until 1:30 a.m., appearing to align with liquor sale requirements. The company's previous proposal asked for 24/7 drive-thru sales to better serve customers with medical needs. Nick Liaromatis, co-founder and chief legal officer of Terabis, submitted the application for the text amendment. Terabis operates one Springfield dispensary located at 850 East Kearney Street. The company owns a total of 9 dispensaries in Missouri and Illinois. The company, quote, seeks this amendment following discussions with multiple city officials regarding a reasonable approach to cannabis operating hours that aligns with Springfield's existing regulatory framework for alcohol sales, Liaromatis said in the application. Ryan DeBeef, a lawyer and lobbyist with Han DeBeef representing Terabis at the Planning and Zoning meeting, said the proposal boils down to an opportunity for the company to make more money, which will translate to more sales tax revenue for the city. They believe that it makes commercial sense for them to be open for hours past the current 10 p.m. deadline, DeBeef said. He added that security will be in place when the drive-thru is open. DeBeef addressed the company's previous proposal and said the revision was necessary to align with the advice of city staff and to address concerns from the Springfield Police Department. DeBeef also said there should be an emphasis that this amendment would only affect the 9 state-regulated dispensaries in Springfield. There was confusion surrounding that, the lawyer said, because of the plethora of vape and smoke shops that exist in Springfield that sell products not regulated by the state government. DeBeef said the company does not expect an increase in security incidents at the dispensary due to extending drive-thru hours. He said there have been 0 security incidents at the dispensary, and the company does not expect that to change due to the proposed amendment. According to the Development Review staff report, the Springfield Police Department has no comments on the amendment application after reviewing the proposed revisions. In the prior proposal calling for 24/7 drive-thrus, SPD saw, quote, a number of negative aspects with this proposed change, according to previous Daily Citizen reporting. There are drive-thru liquor establishments in Springfield, but no liquor is permitted to be sold between the hours of 1:30 a.m. and 6 a.m. Commissioner Scott, in his comments, said he had a hard time equating liquor sales and marijuana sales, and he did not believe there was a reason the 2 types of businesses should have the same hours of operations. Scott voted against recommending approval. There are 9 dispensaries within Springfield city limits, according to the staff report. The report does not disclose how many dispensaries have drive-thru lanes. When asked, DeBeef said he did not know that figure. Commissioner Pauley said he voted against recommending approval because, in part, he felt this introduced an unfair competitive advantage to the dispensaries with existing drive-thru infrastructure. Quote, I feel some concern that we're putting some of these businesses at a disadvantage. Those dispensaries around the rest of the city of Springfield that don't currently have a drive-thru capability, Pauley said. Missouri's Constitutional Amendment 3 does not impose restrictions on operating hours of licensed cannabis facilities. The amendment delegates authority to local governments to regulate operating hours of cannabis facilities.
Here we have Christian County Library Board loses South County representation. With 2 appointments made to the Christian County Library Board of Trustees, the board no longer includes a representative from the southern region of the county after a lack of applications. Christian County Commission appointed 2 members on the board Thursday, June 11th, filing a pair of vacancies for the Nixa area and the Highlandville Spokane area. Applications were accepted until May 29th. The original deadline, being May 22nd, was extended by a week to garner more applications. In total, 4 people applied, 2 from Nixa and 2 from Ozark. At the commission meeting Thursday, preceding Commissioner Lynn Morris said the commission's authority trumps the library's bylaws that dictate which regions board members should represent, though the commission has honored the system previously. He presented the commission with 2 options: either appoint one of the other candidates or open applications back up to get someone from the South region or nearby. Here we have a photo of the Nixa Community Branch Library. I just fear that someday we're all 3 going to be gone, and we don't know who will be in our 3 chairs, but I would hate to have someday the county have 4 people on one side and 1 on the other, and we don't have representation, Morrison said. Ultimately, the commission decided to appoint someone else regardless of region. Commissioner Bradley Jackson said that all 4 candidates were qualified, but he did not wish to interrupt the 5-member board's ability to continue its work by leaving it a person short for an extended period of time. He said candidates' qualifications are more important than the geographic region in which they live. I would be more in line to put somebody in there that has a strong desire to serve their community that didn't have to be recruited to fill it just because it's a geographic region, Jackson said. The South County region is the only one without a standalone community branch library, though pickup services are available there. The more rural region of the county was discussed in library board conversations about Wi-Fi hotspots earlier this year, which noted people may be more reliant on than library resources. While the commissioners held a blind voted on the 2 top picks, all 3 selected Echo Schneider and Coleman Parsley. Schneider recently vacated her seat as the trustee representing the South County region because she moved out of the area. She was serving as board president and had been on the board since 2023. Schneider is listed as a team member for the World Library Association, an alternative to the American Library Association created in 2023 that promotes a common sense model for policy formation. Parsley of Ozark is the owner of Deliver Digital, a website agency which serves several nonprofits and small businesses in the region, according to his application, which the News-Leader obtained through the Sunshine Law. In his application, Parsley wrote that he wants to be a library trustee to develop and maintain a wholesome and family-friendly library environment, and that the library's role in the future should be to foster creativity through arts and literature. Parsley will take on the Nixa role vacated by trustee Mary Hernandez de Caro. The next library board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, June 23rd.
And Craig Wood is one of 8 prisoners condemned in Missouri. None has an execution date, and 1 was sentenced to death in 1984. Steve Pokin brings us this article with the Springfield Daily Citizen today that begins with a photo. There's an aerial photo and some mugshots here. It says that Craig Wood is housed in the Potosi Correctional Center outside of the village of Mineral Point in Washington County, Missouri. And the photos are of Craig Wood by the Missouri Department of Corrections. He's in a gray jumpsuit and he has long gray hair and a gray beard, little on the heavy-set side. There's also an aerial view of the Potosi Correctional Center on the right side of the image, and that was from the Washington County's Assessor's Office. With an appeals process that can take decades, how often do defendants sentenced to death in Missouri die in prison before their execution date? Craig Wood, convicted for the 2014 kidnapping and murder of 10-year-old Haley Owens, is one of 8 men incarcerated by the Missouri Department of Corrections who have been sentenced to die. He is 58 years old and does not have an execution date set. In fact, none of the 8 men do, and one of them was sentenced to death in 1984. A 9th man will likely join the list on June 18th when a Franklin County judge sentences Kenneth Lee Simpson, who a jury found guilty in January for shooting and killing Herman Police Detective Sergeant Mason Griffith in March 2023. The same jury recommended the death penalty. Simpson also shot and seriously injured Herman Officer Adam Sullentrop. Missouri is one of 27 states with the death penalty. Of those 27, only Missouri and Indiana allow a judge to impose the death penalty when a jury deadlocks on the issue. That is what happened in Wood's case. In Missouri, the death penalty can only be sought by prosecutors in cases of first-degree murder and only when the defendant is 18 or older. It can, It cannot be applied if the defendant has a mental impairment and lacks the ability to understand the nature and purpose of the punishment. Wood was sentenced to death in 2017. He has not exhausted all his appeals. He recently was granted extra time to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. At the request of the Springfield Daily Citizen, the Missouri Department of Corrections provided the dispositions of all 189 people, 184 of them men, who have been given a death sentence in Missouri since the state resumed executions in 1989. And how many of those 189 have been executed? 99. All men, 52.4% of them. How many had a higher court change their death sentence to life in prison? 56 of them, including 2 women, or 29.6%. How many of those condemned died in prison of natural causes before execution? 12, including 1 woman, and that is 6.3%. Perhaps the reason is that most criminals are young when incarcerated, which might account for so few murderers sentenced to death in Missouri dying of natural causes. In addition, 2 inmates sentenced to death died by suicide in prison. 1 was killed in prison, and 1 died of unknown causes. 2 inmates sentenced to death had their cases sent back to court for resentencing and were sentenced to death a second time. 1 inmate sentenced to death, a woman, was medically paroled. Following is a photo of William Theodore Bolliak, who murdered his girlfriend's 18-year-old sister in 1983 and was convicted and then sentenced to death in 1984. He once had an execution date of August 25th, 1997, but he is alive today and still incarcerated. The photos show an old mugshot, I'm assuming from 42 years ago, as well as what appears to be a current photo of a much older, much grayer man. William Theodore Bolliak Jr. of Thayer was sentenced to death December 12th, 1984. Nevertheless, he's alive in prison. He is 70 now. Attorney Gordon Ankney wrote about Bolliak's case for the St. Louis Lawyer blog on July 8th, 2025, The Curious Case of William Ted Bolliak. Ankney was a prosecutor in the case, which was moved from Oregon County to Camden County. Bolliak killed Jody Harless, 18, the sister of his girlfriend. He used a shotgun to shoot her in the stomach and then shot her again in the mouth, saying he did not want the body identified through dental records. Ironically, Ankney wrote, the body was identified through dental records. Right before trial, the defense attorney pleaded with the judge for more time because he had not had adequate time to prepare for the death penalty case. The trial judge was hard-nosed but granted a continuance from 4:30 p.m. to the next morning. Bolliak took the stand the next day, Ankney writes, and as a result, his extensive criminal background became known to jurors. Bolliak also showed the jury his tattoo of a double-barrel shotgun with smoking barrels and the words, death dealer. Governor Mel Carnahan stayed Bolliak's execution and ordered a review of the case. The review was completed, but before Carnahan decided Bolliak's fate, Carnahan died in an airplane crash. Ankney's article concludes, quote, over 40 years after a death sentence was returned by a Camden County jury, William Theodore Bolliak is still confined on death row at Potosi, Missouri, without having an execution date and no records as to why. In addition to Wood and Bolliak, the other 6 are Charles Mathenia, 67, of rural Fredericktown, who was sentenced to death January 8, 1985. He fatally stabbed 2 elderly sisters in 1983. Roosevelt Pollard, 63, of St. Louis, was sentenced to death January 27, 1986. He killed a motorist in 1983 at a rest stop. Terrence Anderson, 50, was sentenced to death on May 16, 2001. In 1997, he killed his girlfriend's parents in Poplar Bluff. He was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole for the murder of Stephen Rainwater and sentenced to death for the murder of Debbie Rainwater, who was holding Anderson's baby when he shot her in the head. Vincent McFadden, 46, was sentenced to death April 25, 2005. He fatally shot his girlfriend's sister in 2003 and a man in Pine Lawn in 2002. Richard Darren Emery, 54, was sentenced to death November 3rd, 2022. He murdered his girlfriend, her 2 children, and her mother in 2018 in St. Charles. Joshua Tyler Roca, 28, was sentenced to death November 25th, 2025. Roca murdered North Kansas City police officer Daniel Vasquez in July 2022. The Death Penalty Information Center tracks capital punishment. Its offices are in Washington, D.C. Missouri executed 285 people from 1810 until 1965, according to the center. Missouri executed via hanging until 1937. The last time there was a public hanging in Greene County was at 5:18 a.m. Friday, April 12th, 1935. That's when Frank Sonny McDaniel, 30, was hanged for the murder of his girlfriend, Sevilla Scott. The last public hanging in Missouri occurred in 1937 in Galena, which is in Stone County. Roscoe Red Jackson was hanged for murdering traveling salesman Pearl Bozarth in Taney County. The 54-year-old salesman had made the mistake of giving a ride to Jackson, who was hitchhiking. Jackson killed him and stole his car. Jackson was hanged May 20th, 1937. Following is a photo of the rare dual-seat gas chamber in which over time 40 inmates were executed at the old Missouri State Penitentiary, which is now a museum in Jefferson City. And this photo here, this is a more current photo, it appears, because the old paint is all chipped off of the gas chamber chairs as well as the door, and it looks like maybe actually the door is no longer still sealable. In 1937, the state moved to execution via gas chamber, which was in the Missouri State Penitentiary in Jefferson City. The original idea was to use an electric chair. The state has a list of the 40 inmates gassed to death, including photos. 23 of those executed were black men. One of the 40 was a woman. One of the major criticisms of the death penalty in the United States is that it has been disproportionately against black defendants. The only woman killed in the gas chamber was Bonnie Emily Hetty. She and her boyfriend Carl Hall were convicted of kidnapping and killing 6-year-old Bobby Greenlease of Kansas City in 1953. According to the FBI's website, Hetty had gone to the boy's school in Kansas City and said she was his aunt. The boy's father was a wealthy auto dealer. Hetty lied and said the boy's mother had just had a heart attack. A few hours after the kidnapping, the Greenlease parents received the first ransom letter concerning the return of their son. It demanded that $600,000 in $20 and $10 bills be placed in a duffel bag. The kidnappers promised the boy's safe return in 24 hours as long as there were no tricks in delivering the money. The parents paid the ransom, not knowing their son was already murdered. The couple had killed the boy soon after the abduction and buried the body near Hetty's house in St. Joseph. Hall later admitted he shot the boy. Since 1987, according to the Missouri Department of Corrections, a woman has not been executed in the state. That's because the state considers the execution of Amber McLaughlin on January 3rd, 2023, the execution of Scott A. McLaughlin, a man. McLaughlin was the first openly transgender person put to death in the United States. McLaughlin raped and murdered Beverly Gunther in Earth City and dumped the body in St. Louis. At the time of the crime, McLaughlin was living as a man. The gender transition occurred while McLaughlin was incarcerated. Missouri switched from gas chamber to execution via lethal injection in 1987. Nevertheless, state law leaves open the use of lethal gas, although the state's gas chamber no longer exists. The law states, quote, "The manner of inflicting the punishment of death shall be by the administration of lethal gas or by means of the administration of lethal injection." The Department of Corrections has exclusively used lethal injection since 1987. Condemned inmates are housed in the general population at the Potosi Correctional Center. There is no death row in Missouri. Executions are at the Eastern Reception, Diagnostic, and Correctional Center in Bonne Terre. As an indication of how greater care is used in implementing the death penalty in Missouri and how the process has changed over the decades, consider this. Bobby Greenlease was abducted from school on September 28, 1953. The FBI was called in. The boy was murdered shortly after the abduction. Hetty and Hall were arrested on October 6, 1953. They pleaded guilty October 30th, 1953. A jury found them guilty, confirming their plea on November 19th, 1953. 15 minutes later, Judge Albert L. Reeves sentenced them to be put to death on December 18th, 1953. They were executed together in the gas chamber on that date, less than 3 months after the boys' abduction and murder.
To all our listeners out there, I highly recommend going to the Missouri State Penitentiary. I've actually done a tour there, and I got to see the gas chambers live. It was definitely interesting and very surreal. Here we have Missouri officials face deadline to rewrite university funding. A couple of key points here. Missouri's Higher Education Department must create a new state aid formula for public colleges by December 1st. The new model must keep the total state aid amount flat at just over $1.1 billion, and failure to create a consensus plan may result in lawmakers imposing their own, potentially less favorable model. The Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development has until December 1st to craft a new formula for distributing state aid among public colleges and universities, or risk lawmakers creating their own plan that institutions quite literally will not like. The state's higher education commissioner said Wednesday, June 10th. Bennett Boggs, speaking during a meeting of the Coordinating Board for Higher Education, urged college presidents to work with their department in good faith as it tries to balance competing interests. I hope that we can find a way to reach a consensus that we can present to the legislature, something that we can all agree on, that we may not all love, but it's something that the legislature will understand. Otherwise, I do believe we have some serious risks in front of us, and I don't take that lightly. And here we have a photo of the Coordinating Board for Higher Education members sitting together in front of a prompter, Brian Hammonds, speaking during the board's meeting on Wednesday, June 10th. Everyone is looking sharp and very interested in what's being said. The deadline for the department to develop and submit an objective, formula-driven model that keeps funding flat was included in the state budget lawmakers passed in May by Governor Mike Kehoe that has until the end of June to approve or veto budget bills. Lawmakers' order to keep the amount of state aid at just over $1.1 billion is the central challenge, said Leroy Wade, the department's deputy commissioner of operations. That changes the approach of this entirely from what we would have expected otherwise, he said. Currently, the department uses a decades-old funding model that starts with the prior year's appropriation and adds the inflationary factor. This lump sum is then divided between the universities, with each receiving a set percentage. Higher education officials have been working to overhaul the system for years, but any changes face opposition because a new formula could reduce the state aid for some universities while increasing it for others. In 2022, lawmakers directed the department to study funding formulas with incentives for high-performing universities. The result was a 92-page report by the National Center for Higher Education Management Systems. The study suggested that the state move to a cost-based approach in which the formula yields an estimated total amount of funding required to serve each institution's instructional mission, with additional funding for higher-performing schools. A cost-based formula would not assume a particular funding level, conflicting with state lawmakers' requests to keep funding flat. But other recommendations in the report, like prioritizing funding or fixed costs, are a part of the department's ideas. I don't think we have to start from scratch, Wade said. He envisions a formula that meets universities' basic needs while incentivizing performance. Boggs said lawmakers have told him to keep the formula easy to understand, so he wants to contain it to a few limited metrics. Brian Hammonds, a board member from Stockton, said legislatures told him simplification is going to be important. The department plans to build in guardrails to slowly transition universities to the new formula, Boggs said. We all saw in the last legislative session some wild swings, he said, and we certainly do not want that to happen in this environment. In March, the Missouri House passed a higher education budget that would have based the state aid solely on enrollment. The proposal, which was rejected by the state Senate, would have cut funding for Truman State University in Kirksville in half and made massive reductions to the state's historically black universities. The budget that ultimately passed this year is a repeat of the fiscal year 2026 funding for colleges though the governor has not yet taken action on it. The pressure to create a new formula comes as state officials are warning that Missouri's broader budget picture is worsening. Wednesday morning, while the coordinating board was meeting, Missouri State Auditor Scott Fitzpatrick released a report that warned against the state's deficit spending and signaled deep cuts in the near future. If the upcoming budgetary years are going to be as difficult as we think, Boggs said, it is going to take productive relationships, and goodwill is the only way to come together and come through this as an intact set of institutions. Any plan reallocating state aid at the current funding level will produce increases for some colleges, while others will see cuts. But Boggs warned university presidents not to become jealous, telling a Russian parable about the peasant who envies a neighbor with a cow and asks a genie to slaughter it. Killing the neighbor's cow does not mean a cow magically appears on your campus, Boggs said. It means the legislature gets to take that cow back to the barn and redirect it however they decide.
And a Springfield man has pled guilty to embezzling his client's retirement funds. Jackie Rewald in the Springfield Daily Citizen brings us this story that says a Springfield man pleaded guilty in federal court this week in a scheme to embezzle the retirement funds of his clients. Bob Hunter, age 72, pleaded guilty before U.S. Magistrate Judge David P. Rush to 1 count of wire fraud and 1 count of money laundering. According to a news release from the Department of Justice, this is one of many federal fraud cases pursued under the leadership of President Donald Trump and through the establishment of the task force to eliminate fraud. According to the release, Hunter worked as an investment and retirement professional in the Springfield area and promoted various retirement programs, including Supplemental Executive Retirement Plans, or SERP. Hunter admitted to promoting the use and administration of SERPs to area executives who could invest their money with an eye toward building an investment retirement account that would be available for an investor during their retirement years, the release stated. But instead of utilizing the monies he received from his clients to invest in their individual retirement accounts, Hunter utilized those monies for his own personal expenses. According to the release, a total of $373,230 in intended retirement funds were embezzled by Hunter from his clients. Hunter's clients only became aware of his fraud after realizing that he was misleading them with false investment reports that claimed they had money in their investment accounts that never truly existed, known as lulling letters or documents, the release states. These lulling letters and documents significantly delayed investors from reporting the fraud to law enforcement and even attempted to conceal the nature and scope of Hunter's true embezzlement. Hunter faces up to 20 years in a federal prison and a maximum fine of $250,000 for the wire fraud count, and up to 10 years in prison and a maximum fine of $250,000 for the money laundering count. Hunter will be sentenced at a later date.
Springfield's Child Advocacy Center topped $7 million, nearing $8 million campaign goal. The Child Advocacy Center's capital campaign has surpassed $7 million, bringing the organization closer to its $8 million goal. Recent contributions from John and Kathy Risdall, 3 Stone Homes, the Dar Family Foundation, and other supporters added more than $1 million to the campaign, according to a community announcement. This project has been about just a new building, this project has never been just about a new building. It is about making sure no child waits for help and every child has the opportunity to heal. We are deeply humbled by the extraordinary community response and are profoundly grateful for the commitment that is turning this vision into a reality, Executive Director Katina Dole said in the announcement. Child Advocacy Center expands with new property acquisition, and here we have a picture of a white brick building with a brown roof and a parking lot surrounded by greenery. The Child Advocacy Center has acquired a second property to enhance its services, and this is a picture rendering of the exterior of the newly acquired building that will be dedicated to mental health services. In addition to the fundraising milestone, CAC has acquired a second property to enhance its services. The organization has been planning a 2-story, 10,000 square foot addition to its recently acquired location. However, an unexpected opportunity to purchase a neighboring building arose, and the organization decided to proceed with the acquisition. This opportunity allows us to expand our vision in ways that better support healing and growth for the children that we serve. It reduces overall costs and allows us to create a dedicated mental health space with intentional therapeutic green spaces for children and family, Dole said in the announcement. The revised plan is expected to create a more welcoming and restorative environment, aligning closely with CAC's mission to provide safety, advocacy, and healing. Community support still needed. With $1 million left to raise, the organization is encouraging community members and supporters to contribute to the campaign. Naming opportunities and multi-year pledge options are available for those interested in making a lasting investment in the well-being of local children and families, according to the announcement.
We are broadcasting live from the Blind Community Thrift Store, the world's first retail store to use NaviLens to help navigate and inform blind and visually impaired individuals while shopping with little to no assistance. For more information, visit our website at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. A Pleasant Hope man has been charged in federal court. Investigators say he admitted to sex abuse and cannibalistic thoughts. Lovely story. Jackie Rewald from the Daily Citizen brings us this one. Prosecutors say a Pleasant Hope man accused of receiving and distributing child sexual abuse materials caused a ruckus at his initial appearance in a federal courtroom this week. Troy A. Smith, 25, was charged on June 5th with receipt and distribution of visual depictions of minors engaged in sexually explicit conduct. Smith initially appeared in Senior Magistrate Judge James England's courtroom on Monday, June 8th. Following that initial appearance, court documents say Smith was combative with the U.S. Marshals and investigators with Homeland Security investigations who escorted Smith to the holding cells. Smith allegedly cursed out one of the U.S. Marshals and attempted to kick another one when the officers had to carry him into the holding cell. Smith is being held without bond in the Greene County Jail. Following is a booking photo of Troy Smith by the Greene County Sheriff's Office. He is wearing a black t-shirt. His hair is long and unkempt, and he's got a very strange look in his eyes. It's the best way I can describe that. According to the criminal complaint, an alleged victim, identified in the complaint as Minor Victim 1, or MV1, was interviewed at the Child Advocacy Center on February 26th and disclosed that Smith exposed his penis to MV1 and attempted to get MV1 to expose his penis to Smith. MV1 alleged that Smith would give MV1 toys in exchange for MV1's silence. Greene County deputies responded to Smith's residence in Pleasant Hope on May 12th after Smith allegedly called 911 and stated he was having thoughts about sexual assault against children. Smith allegedly told deputies that he went to a book sale at the Ozarks Empire Fairgrounds on May 1st and followed children around and purposely touched one boy but pretended it was an accident. A family member of Smith reached out to the Daily Citizen after publication and explained that Smith has mental health conditions and struggles to differentiate between reality and his imagination or what he sees on TV. The family member said Smith had been off his medication, which likely contributed to his behavior after his initial court hearing. According to the statement, Smith allegedly told deputies that he had sexually abused 8 children in the past and had exposed himself to more than 100 children. In a later post-Miranda interview, Smith allegedly reiterated to detectives that he sexually abused 8 children, including an 8-year-old girl at the park next to the Chesterfield Family Center. He allegedly said the other minor children were strangers that he either met at the park or at a playground of a local elementary school. There is no information in the criminal complaint indicating if more charges will be filed or if authorities believe Smith's claims are credible. Spokespeople for the Springfield Police Department and Greene County Sheriff's Office said Smith's case is being handled by Homeland Security Investigations, and that was the agency to contact for more information. An HSI spokesperson referred the Daily Citizen to the U.S. Department of Justice and local law enforcement for comment. A spokesperson for the United States Attorney for the Western District of Missouri, the agency prosecuting the child pornography case, declined to comment beyond what was in the court record. Online court records indicate in February a Greene County judge issued a full order of protection against Smith, barring him from any communication with the child. During the interview, Smith allegedly stated he had thoughts and urges to sexually abuse minor children 100% of the time, and had thoughts and urges to kill the minor children after sexually abusing them 75% of the time. According to the statement, Smith allegedly told investigators he had cannibalistic thoughts and urges, stating he wanted to eat minor children after killing them about 10 to 20% of the time. Investigators seized and searched Smith's iPhone and allegedly found at least 6 visual depictions of child sexual abuse material, including images of child victims ranging from infant or toddler age to 13 to 15 years old. And
Here we have Springfield Little Theater's Anything Goes promised a night of comedy and music. The beloved 1930s musical features classic songs from Cole Porter and lots of dancing. We start off strong with a very visual photo of what it looks like the actors on stage during the Anything Goes screenplay here. We have Hope Harcourt, played by Sydney White, and Lord Evelyn Oakley, played by Kyle Bradley. And they are being interviewed by a newspaper reporter, depicted by Julia Feuborn, and the photographer alongside her, played by Sean Scarborough, in a scene from Springfield Little Theater's Anything Goes. When veteran director, choreographer, and educator Cheryl Miller learned that Springfield's Little Theater was closing its 91st main stage season with the classic musical Anything Goes, she had one request and one question. I said, "Please let me do this show because it is so much fun," Miller said. There are 19 numbers total and very little dialogue between the numbers, so it's a lot of music. I asked Springfield Little Theater educator director Lauren Dunn to have some tap workshops because tap is not common around here. It's really not taught. So from September to March, Miller teamed up with dancer and choreographer Felicia Black to teach those workshops. What started as a class of 17 exploded in growth. We wound up with 70 people coming to the workshops that were then auditioned, Miller said. So it was really exciting to see all those people come back and go, "I want to dance." You can see them tap amongst a cast of 47 June 12th through 28th at the historic Landers Theater. And here we have a couple of actors from the screenplay Anything Goes. Billy Crocker, played by Josiah Sims, and Reno Sweeney, played by Avery Tillett, sharing a moment during the opening act. Anything Goes made its Broadway debut on November 21st, 1934 at what is now the Neil Simon Theater. Howard Lindsay and Russell Crowe created this story to serve as a framework for Cole Porter's newly written songs. And what songs they are, classics like I Get a Kick Out of You and You're the Top, and of course Anything Goes, are included in the original soundtrack, which has expanded through the years to include songs like Friendship and It's De Lovely, a particular favorite of Miller's. The musical is set on the SS America luxurious ocean liner sailing from New York City to London. And it's really 3 relationships that create, tear up, and have fun on the cruise, Miller said. Who the people board the ship with is not who they end up, so there's a little bit of mystery to it. There's also a villain, Moonface Martin. Miller said he comes aboard with his girlfriend Irma, aiming to make money by gambling with and cheating his fellow passengers. As he disguises himself as a minister, but we also have a minister on board, so the 2 ministers are mistaken for each other. So it's a case of mistaken identity, comedy, Cole Porter music, and lots of tap dancing. And here we actually have a photo of Bishop Henry T. Dobson, played by Hawk, trying to stop the Moonface Martin, David DePriest, as the 2 men meet aboard the SS America in Springfield's Little Theater Anything Goes. Both of them are dressed in religious garb, which leads to the mistaken identities. There are multiple versions of Anything Goes. The 1934 Broadway production was followed 1 year later by West End debut, and film adaptations were made in 1936 and 1956, both starring Bing Crosby. The musical was reviewed on Broadway in 1987 and again in 2011, and there have also been West End revivals and tours in both the US and UK. Springfield Little Theater is using the 1987 Broadway revival for its production. I think the music in this version is more contemporary for us, Miller said. The original music by Cole Porter was always great, but it had jazz and blues that were popular at the time. This picks up the tempo a little bit, and it's a little bit faster and has a lot more brass in it. The cast ranges in age from 19 to 72, with lead roles played by veteran David DePriest and Kelsey Bradley and Kyle Bradley. Miller's cast also includes several new actors. Sydney White is playing Hope, and Daniel Bush as Alicia Whitney, and Sonia Gaudry as Miss Evangeline Harcourt, and Josiah Sims playing the lead role of Billy Crocker. I'm happy with all of my leads and then a great ensemble to back them up, Miller said. That ensemble features two longtime friends, Sydney Warrow and Caroline Bailey. They danced together as high school girls, Miller said, and now they're in their 50s. They auditioned and they get to be in the show with each other. Caroline's children are in the theater, and so she's been a theater mom as well. She said, I'm going to have to be on stage for this one, so there she is, on stage. Miller has plenty of capable hands helping her behind the scenes, including sound and lighting design from Jamie Bauer, costume design from Bonnie Johnson, and a set design by Corbin Chaffin. Corbin's painted this huge ship, and we do have Keystone Cop chases all over the ship, so I have swinging doors and escape hatches, Miller said. And it's kind of held together by 7 sailors that tap dance, sing, play Keystone Cops, and everything else. William Gowers leads a live 12-member orchestra as he conducts his first show at the Landers Theater. And then there's Black, the choreographer, whom Miller is thrilled to have on the team. She was actually one of my students at Missouri State University when I taught there, Miller said. She lives in Pueblo, Colorado, and I brought her in. She's done the Anything Goes number and the Blow Gabriel Blow number, so we get to highlight and use a guest artist. Here we have a picture of actors A.J. Schaefer and Brett Johnson rehearsing scene from Springfield Little Theater's Anything Goes, dressed in their best uniforms. Despite its age, Anything Goes remains a popular production, especially with community and school theaters. It's also consistently mentioned in lists naming the top 50 or top 100 musicals of all time. Miller believes there are a couple of reasons. Obviously, the music, she said. Cole Porter's music will ride out forever, so that's a staying power. And then it's lighthearted comedy with chases, love interests. It's got everything that you want in a show, and yet it's not controversial. It does not insult anyone, which is a really nice touch in today's world. And it's a crowd pleaser every time it's put on. It will definitely be fun. Anything Goes is rated PG for approximately 2 hours and 30 minutes with a 15-minute intermission. If you're looking for an alternative to a summer blockbuster movie, the local theater production just might be it. It's a chance to sit back and have a lift, Miller said. And so many of the tunes, we already know the music, so you can be humming it as you go out the door. And with the air conditioning in the theater now, it's really nice. It's lovely. Maybe even de-lovely.
And Ozarks Pride Fest hones in on local talent and history for Saturday's festival. Zoe McIntyre with the Springfield Daily Citizen brings us this story that begins with a nice bright photo of the Progress Pride flag, which uses a white, pink, and light blue stripes to represent the trans community. The black and brown stripes still represent communities of color and is a nod to the thousands of individuals that the community lost during the HIV and AIDS crisis in the 80s and 90s, according to the Human Rights Campaign. The photo has a lot of people on the street, and someone is waving the flag right in front of the camera to make it the most prominent visual element. Ozarks Pride Fest is returning to downtown Springfield this Saturday, June 13th. The free event drew a crowd of about 6,000 people last year, including visitors from Springfield's surrounding communities and other cities in southwest Missouri. The annual parade starts at the Municipal Court at 625 North Benton Avenue at 11:30 a.m., ending downtown at the intersection of McDaniel Street and South Avenue. About 120 booths, including local nonprofits, churches, and craft vendors, will start setting up at 11 a.m. Festivities on the square officially kick off at noon with Silly Rock Band Waffle opening on the stage. It's a significant year for the Glow Center, Springfield's LGBTQ plus community center and Pride Fest organizer. The nonprofit is celebrating its 30th anniversary in October. Executive Director Aaron Kitchens said some of the Glow Center's founding members and volunteers from the early days will be marching in the parade and having conversations with visitors at a dedicated history booth. What to know before you go for the parade. Find the parade route and free sign-up form online that is located at ozarkspridefest.com. The route is slightly different from previous years because it will not circle the square. Organizers ask that people watching the parade do not stand on the MLK Bridge. For the main stage, live music, drag, and remarks from speakers will be on the square from noon to 5:45 p.m. You can find an itinerary online. Again, that's at ozarkspridefest.com. And as for accessibility, the downtown square is wheelchair accessible by ramp. ASL interpreters will interpret the events on stage. Following is a photo of the Glow Center founding member Linda Thomas on the right with her longtime partner Jeanette Hipskin on the left, and with them is who I'm assuming is their dog wearing a bright flag colored bandana. Pride Fest is really going in on local entertainment, Kitchens said, including talent from the Ozarks region. The headlining drag and music performers for Saturday all come from Missouri, Northwest Arkansas, or the Springfield area. In fact, so many local drag performers expressed interest in being part of Pride Fest this year that the organizers decided to set up a second stage on Park Central East for part of the afternoon. It was sort of a last-minute idea because normally we actually struggle to get enough drag performers, Kitchens said. Not all of them want to perform at Pride Fest and then also perform at whatever other venues they're a part of. We didn't have that issue this year. We had more than 20 express interest. Pride Fest is circus themed this year, and idea organizers were first drawn to because of the tagline, "Come one, come all," Kitchens said. He quipped, "You won't get out there and see a circus, but you might get out there and see a clown." Following is a photo of a window with a pride flag hanging outside it. Looks like it's from a downtown Springfield building. Kitchens said that anecdotally, the environment in Springfield feels more supportive this year. We've not experienced any direct bigotry, threats, intimidation, anything like that this year, he said, adding, "I think Springfield is ready to support all of us and be a community where we can all thrive." Funds for Pride Fest were raised early this year thanks to sponsors and vendor signups. The support's really been there to see the event continue to grow, Kitchens said. The Glow Center plans to host the Pride on C Street block party for a second year this fall. Pride Fest is taking place 1 week after city officials in Mansfield canceled all permitted events in June on the community square. The scheduled Pride event turned into a protest. Mansfield is the nearest city outside of Springfield that hosts its own Pride celebration. Kitchens said that in comparison, Ozarks Pride Fest has never had any issues working with the city and downtown Springfield, even as the event has grown to thousands of attendees. We're really pleased that we have such strong partnerships here locally, that our event has continued to grow, and that we can help inspire folks in communities near us to continue building their community and building up their events and programs, he said. And you can catch our good friend Madeline here tomorrow at Pride Fest. She will have a vendor booth and be in the parade. Congratulations, Maddie.
Thank you. And per Aaron, it is rain or shine, so bring a poncho and have a good time. Patriotic Party in the park will honor America's 250th anniversary. The Flag Day celebration will be held Sunday, June 14th at Nathaniel Green, close to Memorial Park. As a continuation of the ongoing celebration of America's 250th anniversary, the public is invited to a free and family-friendly party this Flag Day, June 14th, at the Sensory Garden in Nathaniel Green, close to Memorial Park. Attendees will be greeted by patriotic tunes played by the Republic Symphony Band starting at 1:40 p.m. and to kick off the patriotic party at the park. The event will take place from 2 to 3 p.m. and the Rachel Donaldson chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution will host. Attendees should bring their own lawn chairs because local high school groups are also set to perform. Both the Central High School Kilties and Parkview High School Lassies drum and bugle corps will play and spin for partygoers. There will also be an appearance by the Ozark Mountains Chapter Sons of Revolutionary Color Guard, who will present the colors. Children will be provided with complimentary patriotic flags and gifts. Patriotic characters with faces cut out will be available for pictures, including George Washington, Betsy Ross, and more. A giveaway will be held at the end of the event, providing community members with America paraphernalia such as armbands and American flag pins. Refreshments will be provided. We hope the community will come together and celebrate America's 250th with this, said Pat Haas, daughter of the American Revolution chair of the America 250th Committee. In addition to the festivities in America 250 bench, we will also be dedicated with Greene County Presiding Commissioner Bob Dixon speaking. The bench is dedicated in partnership with the Friends of the Garden, with speakers from the organization also expected. Nathaniel Greene has a storied history. Donated as a surplus property from the U.S. Department of Interior and Bureau of Prisons, the park is partially named after Nathaniel Greene, a continual general of the Revolutionary War and namesake of Greene County.
And several obituaries to read this week. Please pardon me while we get through these quickly. Naomi L. Young, age 93, of Springfield, Missouri, was born February 25th of 1933 to Herschel and Matilda Kennemer, and she died June 2nd, 2026, and those arrangements will be provided by Gorman Scharf Funeral Home. Patricia Ann McPhail passed away quietly the morning of June 6th, 2026, at the age of 93. Her arrangements will be handled by Metters Funeral Home. Susan K. Erickson, age 77, was laid into rest Sunday, June 7th, 2026, at Oakley Place in Topeka, Kansas. Her arrangements are being held by Charter Funerals. Johnny Ernest Clark, age 102, passed away June 4th, 2026. Those arrangements are provided by Williams Funeral Home. Graveside services will be held on June 19th at noon at Marionville IOOF Cemetery. Kenneth Legan, 79, from Halfway, Missouri, passed away June 2nd, 2026. Funeral services will be held at Butler Funeral Home in Bolivar, Missouri on Saturday, June 13th at 10 a.m. Marilyn K. Taylor Kennedy, aged 89, passed away on June 17th, 2025 in Overland Park, Kansas. A memorial service will be held on June 20th, 2026 at the Springfield Lake Boathouse event space beginning at 5 p.m. James Kevin Clark, born January 13th, 1946, passed away on June 6th, 2026. I do not have arrangement details for him. Shirlene Ruth Thomas, age 91, passed away May 29th, 2026. Her arrangements are being provided by Gorman Scharf. Geraldine A. Schlappman, age 94, passed away June 9th, 2026. Her arrangements are being provided by Gorman Scharf Funeral Home. Garrett Anthony Golick, beloved son, brother, and uncle, passed away peacefully at his home in Springfield on June 4th, 2026, with his parents by his side. Those arrangements are being handled by Gorman Scharf Funeral Home. John Flint Ferguson died peacefully at home on June 9th, 2026, surrounded by loved ones gathered around him, sharing stories, tears, laughter, and love. Those arrangements are being provided by Gorman Scharf Funeral Home. Peggy Cooper, aged 87, passed away June 8th, 2026. Arrangements provided by Green Lawn Funeral Home North. Services to be held on June 15th at 11 a.m. at Green Lawn Memorial Gardens. Keith Edward Withers Sr., age 75, passed away June 10th, 2026. Those arrangements are being provided by Green Lawn Funeral Home South. Services will be held on June 16th, 11 a.m. at Bible Baptist Church in Springfield, Missouri, and Hillcrest Cemetery in Mountain Grove, Missouri. Finally, we have Louise Lunn, a cherished mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and beloved member of her community, who passed away peacefully on June 7th, 2026, in Overland Park, Kansas. Her arrangements are being provided by Penwell Gable Cremations, Funerals, and Receptions at the Olathe Chapel. Our condolences go to the family and friends of all those who have recently passed.
Many condolences to the family. Tying into that, Greene County legal community mourns the death of assistant prosecutor described as tireless in the pursuit of justice. Those who spoke to the Daily Citizen about Connor Brown described the young assistant prosecutor as a joy to work with and someone who made those around him better. Here we have a photo of Connor Brown in a gray suit in the courtroom as he makes his opening statements for a murder trial of Cortez Washington on May 19th of 2026. He looks like he meant business. Fresh out of law school in 2020, Connor Brown took a job at the Greene County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. Though he would soon be working complicated and sometimes high-profile murder cases, Brown spent much of those first few years handling misdemeanor cases in the Associate Circuit courtrooms. It was really clear from the very beginning that he was someone special, said Greene County Associate Circuit Judge Ron Carrier. Not just special as an attorney, but special as a person. He knew the law, he knew how to communicate with lawyers and judges about the law and the facts of his cases. But here's what made him even more special. He was an incredibly effective advocate who not a single time ever took advantage of an opponent or a situation. Carrier went on to explain what he meant. Oftentimes in the Associate Circuit courtrooms, defendants represent themselves to fight speeding tickets or other minor charges, but rather than hiring an attorney. Brown, according to Carrier, treated those defendants in a manner that showed Brown truly appreciated how serious the case was to them. Not once did I see a situation in which he did not treat people who were representing themselves with the utmost kindness and respect and dignity, and also making sure that their rights were also protected. To me, it was as though when people left court, he wanted to make sure that he did his part to ensure that they had an appreciation for the judicial system, and that system had worked for those people. Carrier is among the many in Greene County legals and law enforcement communities who are mourning the death of Connor Brown. The assistant prosecuting attorney died Saturday 6th at his home as an unexpected result of an underlying health condition. Trust me, I had a lot of respect for him, Judge Carrier said. When Connor was in court, I always wanted to make sure I was doing my best as a judge to meet his standards. I mean, he made people around him better. Brown was 31, only 6 years out of law school, and already an important part of the Greene County Prosecuting Attorney's Major Crime Unit. According to his obituary, Brown graduated from Kickapoo High School in 2013, earned his bachelor's degree from Truman State University, and then his Juris Doctor from the University of Missouri in 2020. After graduation, Brown returned to his hometown of Springfield and began working at the Greene County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. Here we have a photo of Connor Brown in a blue suit with a gold tie, making the state's recommendations for sentencing Cortez Washington to the jurors in the circuit court. Connor Brown was everything you hope a prosecutor will be: principled, tireless, and genuinely committed to justice and the people he served, Greene County Prosecuting Attorney Dan Patterson said in a statement. In 6 years, he accomplished what many take a career to build, earning the trust of his colleagues and the respect of his office through his dedication to some of our most serious and difficult cases. He was not just an exceptional attorney, he was a valued friend and a true advocate for justice, Patterson said. We're devastated by his loss at only 31 years old, and we are a lesser office and a lesser community without him. His work mattered, and so did he. As part of the Major Crimes Unit, much of Brown's work focused on homicides and serious assault cases. Homicide Detective James Sweet described Brown as very highly thought of at the Springfield Police Department and a joy to work with. Over the course of the last 3 years or so, I was lucky enough to be able to watch him grow out into his role, Sweet said. The guy was tireless when it came to pursuing justice for the victims of homicides and serious assaults that my unit investigates. The relationship between a detective and a prosecutor is kind of one that is built on trust and knowledge, Sweet said. I can say with Connor, he was one of the best. There's not too many times that a prosecutor knows a case well as or better than the lead detective. Connor has the dedication to know his cases inside and out. And here we have a photo of attorney Tom Norrid confers with the assistant prosecuting attorney Connor Brown during a break in the trial of Cortez, Washington. Sweet said he came to know Brown well while they worked on the Chavez Nguyen homicide. Nguyen was murdered in a drive-by shooting in 2023. Nguyen's pregnant girlfriend, Haley Frillman, was also shot and seriously injured. 4 men have since been convicted of Nguyen's murder and the assault on Frillman. The 5th and final suspect is set to stand trial later this year. We spent many late nights preparing and working those cases, Sweet said. He knew that case forward and back, and I'm sad that he won't get to keep working on it. With his loss, I think it goes without saying our community has lost a first-rate public servant, Sweet said. The Springfield PD, the homicide unit, myself, we will all miss him greatly. He was a fantastic prosecutor, and I was proud to be able to call him my friend. First Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Joshua Harrell also worked closely with Brown on Major Crimes Unit. Harrell and Brown's direct supervisor for over 2 years. As anyone who saw him in the court would know, he was a fantastic prosecutor. He was also very prepared, Harrell said. I tried a total of 3 challenging murder cases with him, and we spent literally hundreds of hours prepping the cases, preparing the evidence, and trying the cases. Like Sweet, Harrell described Brown as a joy to work with, adding he was always optimistic. He took his job and his role as a prosecutor and as public servant very seriously, but he always had a positive attitude, Harrell said. He really cared about what he was doing, and he really believed in what he was doing. He cared deeply for the victims of the crimes he was prosecuting, and I think he was probably, at least in part, motivated strongly by not wanting to let those victims down. Frillman, the surviving victim of the 2023 drive-by shooting, and her family agree. Frillman's mom, Sarah Summers, described Brown as an incredible advocate seeking justice. Connor Brown has been with us since the very beginning of the most heartbreaking and difficult chapter of our lives. Summers wrote in an email to the Daily Citizen, through every setback, frustration, and painful moment, he stood beside us and fought tirelessly for our family. Even while handling many other cases, he always made us feel like our fight for justice mattered. Summers said her family and Nguyen's family are saddened to know that they will be facing the final courtroom battle without Brown, but feel his impact on the case cannot be overstated. The work he has poured into this fight over the last 2.5 years will continue to be seen every step of the way, Summers said. We will forever be grateful to Mr. Connor Brown, not only for his legal expertise, but for the compassion, strength, and unwavering support he showed our family when we needed it most. He was truly a warrior, and we needed in our corner. Frillman took to social media this week to express sorrow over Brown's death and her gratitude for him and his dedication. He knew the case better than anyone. He fought tirelessly through 2 trials that resulted in life without parole sentences. He fought with us through guilty pleas. He carried the weight of this case with a dedication that went far beyond any job description, she wrote in part. What made him so special wasn't just how brilliant he was, it was how humble about it. He never acted like he was extraordinary, even though he was. He never made me feel like another case file or another victim. He asked about me. He asked about our son. He cared about our family. He listened and understood. He made me feel seen during a time when I felt completely lost. Philip Furman was a colleague of Brown's for about 4 years in Greene County Prosecutor's Office. When Furman was appointed Associate Circuit Judge in 2024, Brown often appeared in his courtroom. Furman recalled trying a murder case with Brown, possibly Brown's first, about 3 years ago when Furman was still a prosecutor. It was pretty clear then that he was extremely talented and just going to be a great trial attorney, Furman said. He's most importantly a really good person. He was kind, funny, intelligent, and hardworking. He's the type of person I really enjoyed working with and being friends with. But someone that practiced law for 6 years, he was just truly an excellent trial attorney and a fierce advocate for the state's positions on cases that always sought to do the right thing. Though he was Brown's direct supervisor in recent years, Harrell acknowledges that he learned from Brown. According to Harrell, Brown would spend countless hours preparing for trials, which made him formidable in the courtroom. Harrell said Brown was particularly skilled at handling digital evidence and presenting that type of evidence to a jury in a way that made it understandable and something the jury could follow. There is a tendency to just play a video and try to let it speak for itself, which is rarely what it does. But Connor always understood the value of that type of evidence, Harrell said. I can say certainly in the recent trials that was something he was willing to do, and it's something, frankly, he was better at than I was. Harrell thought for a few moments about the reporter's question of, what did you learn from Connor? I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this, Harrell said. Connor was so committed to doing his job for the right reasons because he wants to make the community safer, because he wants to do it with integrity, because he wants to honor victims and protect the community. I think to work with Connor was to learn how to do that better. Harrell then went on to echo what Judge Carrier said about Brown. He made people that he worked with better just by the association, just by his enthusiasm for doing the things right way, Harrell said. That is one of his defining characteristics. A lot of us try to do this for the right reasons. I don't know that any of us did this for the right reasons as well or as hard as Connor Brown. He is one of the best men that I've ever known, Harrell said. I was honored to have the opportunity to work with him as much as I did. I'd given quite a bit to have more time with him, to be able to try more cases with him. The community was safer because he was in the job that he had, and we're poorer for the loss. A GoFundMe has been created to support Brown's wife, Kaylee. The two were married on July 5th of 2025. His obituary described Kaylee as the love of his life. They built a beautiful life in the 4 years they'd been together, and we're looking forward to many more, the obituary states. And here we have a photo of Connor and Kaylee Brown, what looks like at a Chiefs game. They are hugging closely and smiling for the camera. Judge Carrier recalled how Brown would often talk about his love for Kaylee. It was always special to be able to hear where Connor placed Kaylee in his life. Carrier said he put her on a pedestal and he aimed and respected the work she did. He really thought she was something else. And there is an online obituary for Connor Brown as well.
And speaking of public employees, here we take a look at Springfield City Utilities and Greene County employees' salaries. Marta Mees with the Springfield News-Leader says that the wages and benefits of public employees consistently are among the top expenses local governments and entities fund using tax dollars. With the use of taxpayer funding comes public scrutiny as well, thanks to Missouri's Sunshine Law, which ensures the public has access to information detailing how their tax money is spent. As it has in the past, the News-Leader filed Sunshine Law requests with major taxpayer-funded employers in Springfield to produce a public paycheck report, a tool readers can use to research public payroll spending and maintain accountability. Available online at newsleader.com, the initial set of compensation databases are presented as they were provided by the institutions, with minimal technical editing to make them easily searchable. In recent years, local law enforcement agencies in particular have struggled with staffing and remaining competitive with other area departments and fields. The Springfield Police Department is slowly rebuilding its sworn staff numbers after seeing positions sit vacant for years. As of the end of May, SPD has 46 vacant positions. Over the past 5 years, the department has carried an average of 60 open positions. The department has taken several steps to address shortages, including relaxing guidelines related to visible tattoos and beards. The 3/4-cent Spring Forward SGF sales tax passed by voters in November 2024 helped address another pressing problem, officer pay. From the total tax, a 1/4-cent permanent portion was earmarked for public safety, largely focused on police and fire pay. Police Major Tad Peters said the sales tax helped SPD land in the lead of Southwest Missouri Department pay and within the top third in pay among the departments SPD competes with for hires. Tax revenue funded a 13.5% increase across the board pay for SPD officers. This set the starting pay at $56,825 for those enrolled in the police academy and at $63,128 once they graduate. The department has also offered a slew of other incentives, such as assistance paying off college debt and an additional $5,000 for new officers hired on or $10,000 for those coming from a different agency. With vacancies persisting, Peter said the department has shifted how it staffs and builds schedules. While this has not necessarily meant officers are working more overtime, he said it means officers have had more overtime opportunities to choose from within SPD rather than outside entities and businesses that may hire officers for security. Quote, we have more overtime opportunities outside of the regular shifts that are just not being taken as much because the officers are getting plenty of hours in as it is already, Peters said. A lot of officers, are getting plenty of opportunities to work extra here at the police department and not taking those outside opportunities. Moving forward, turnover amongst officers is also expected to level off, and the department expects fewer officers will retire. Peters explained this is largely due to the 2 retirement systems currently in place, the Old City Police and Fire Pension Fund and the state's local government employees retirement system, or LAGERS. Under the city operated, which is closed to new hires, financially it made sense for officers to retire after reaching 25 years of service, he said. With LAGERS, that timeline doesn't exist. Now people tend to stay longer, and so anyone hired after that day is likely to stay past the 25 years, and there's going to be a gap where those time spans separate, so we'll have people staying longer, and that'll create a space of several years when we'll have far fewer retirements, Peters said. As city leaders have worked through the upcoming fiscal year budget, personnel costs continue to take up the largest portion of general fund expenses. The new budget, which runs July 2026 through June 2027, includes pay plan improvements across departments. While departments requested a total 90 additional full-time positions, only 2.5 were included to be funded. The budget, which includes a new position for the city manager's office, was approved Monday, June 8th. At that meeting, council also had a first look at several amendments to collective bargaining agreements across employee groups. Those include an across-the-board 1.3% raise to certain merit steps for employees represented by the Springfield Police Officers Association, an increase to the boot allowance for employees represented by International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, AFL-CIO Union 753, and the creation of a new top step for all these employee groups. The Greene County Commission also in recent budgets has put more emphasis on giving the county's employees raises that at minimum keep up with inflation. At the start of 2026, the commission approved a budget that included a 3% cost of living adjustment, with eligible employees also receiving a 1.5% mid-year merit step. According to previous News-Leader reporting, this inflationary increase placed the minimum pay for county employees at $16.68 an hour. Still, the Greene County Sheriff's Office, and particularly the Greene County Jail, has struggled to be fully staffed. According to records obtained by the News-Leader through the Sunshine Law, the amount GCSO has paid in overtime has more than tripled since 2021. Malin Jeffries, the county's Human Resources Director, said the county typically has at least 100 open positions, with the Sheriff's Office accounting for most of those. She said this is particularly the case since the jail requires around-the-clock daily staffing. Staffing demands have also increased after the opening of the new jail in 2022, which expanded the footprint and capacity of the number of inmates the jail could hold. In 2021, GCSO paid about $647,000 for almost 20,000 hours of overtime worked. Since 2022, GCSO workers have reported an average of 49,400 hours in overtime each year. In 2025, more than $2.1 million was paid in overtime, roughly $647,000 of which was covered by grant funds. The city currently has 11 different pay schedules, which are available for review on its website, including both union and non-union positions. Salaries are reviewed annually based on employee performance. With records reflecting year-end compensation collected through the end of 2025 and the hourly rates going into 2026, some top-paid employees currently may not show up at the top of the 2025 list. This is largely due to the change in city managers in 2025. Former city manager Jason Gage remained in his position until January 11, 2025, and received a significant severance package upon his departure. City manager David Cameron was hired in late May and started the job in early July. Cameron's contract set his base salary at $350,000, exceeding what Gage was making by the time he left by more than $80,000. Because Cameron started in the middle of the year, his year-end salary does not reflect that he is the top paid employee in 2026, his first full year in the top post. Other top employees include Director of Aviation Brian Weiler, who announced he was retiring this summer. Weiler had been one of 3 finalists for the city manager job last year. On May 26th, the airport announced the hiring of Weiler's successor, Dave Schomburg. Schomburg, who has served as Assistant Director of Aviation Operations and Maintenance since 2017, will start the job June 28th and will be paid $220,000. Deputy City Managers Colin Quigley and Maurice Jones also make the top of the list. Quigley received a temporary 15% raise in January for the time that he served as interim city manager between Gage's departure and Cameron's onboarding. At the June 8th council meeting, the council also reviewed an amendment to City Clerk Anita Cotter's employment contract that includes an 8% raise, making her base salary $191,160. If approved by council June 22nd, the salary will go into effect July 1st. Springfield City Council members hold their office seats as volunteers and are not paid. This is based on Springfield's city charter, which also establishes a $200 monthly stipend for the mayor. Recently, discussions have circulated about making elected official roles paid as the city continues to grow in size and its responsibilities, but no solid proposal has yet been put forward. Changing the current rules of payment would require voter approval. For the county, a pay structure for elected officials is determined by either state law or a salary commission made up of the local office holders. Pay for some officers, including sheriff and prosecuting attorney, is largely based on the pay of associate circuit judges, which is set by statute in combination with the assessed valuation of the county. The highest paid county employee is medical examiner Dieter Duff, who was paid nearly $3,500 in 2025. Jeffrey said this is on par with what forensic pathologists make nationwide due to being licensed medical doctors and requiring robust education and training. She also noted there are simply not enough licensed experts to meet the need for medical examiners. Quote, when we were initially trying to fill that position, I think we tried to fill it for 2 to 3 years before we got our current medical examiner that we have, Dr. Duff, Jeffrey said. You would never even be able to get somebody with the experience and expertise that you need without offering that kind of competitive nationwide salary. The forensic pathologist's pay is largely an outlier for county pay, however. Jeffrey said the county is considered, quote, under market when it comes to compensation. But to make up for this, she said the county tries to incentivize hires with its benefits package, such as paid time off and contributions to insurance. Jeffrey's estimated benefits usually add about 25 to 35% to an employee's salary. Ultimately, employee pay is limited by the county's tax revenues. Quote, we always want to be very considerate of the fact that it is coming from tax revenue, and there's a lot of other programs and services that the citizens also need, she said. It's a very delicate balance. Based on 2026 hourly wages, Duff is the 3rd highest paid after 2 resident physicians whose yearly salary is lower because they work part-time. Greene County Prosecutor Dan Patterson is the 2nd highest paid, receiving a yearly salary of nearly $165,000 by the end of 2025. Several destructive storms in 2025 that toppled trees and left many in Springfield without power meant some city utilities employees were paid overtime last year, per CU's communications manager, Jamie Presley. That means this year's database includes some workers that make it higher on the list of top paid employees based on 2025 total wages, despite lower hourly rates. Unsurprisingly, top paid employees at city utilities still are the top leaders of the utility. CU President and CEO Dwayne Folk received nearly $409,000 in 2025. Folk was hired for the top role in late 2024 with a starting salary of $400,000, according to previous News-Leader reporting. His predecessor, Gary Gibson, made about $394,000 in 2023. Folk has worked for CU since 2017. Other top-paid CU employees are Stephanie O'Connor, SVP Chief Technology and People Officer, close behind Folk at $407,000 earned in 2025. Amy Derdal, SVP Chief Financial and Supply Chain Officer, was the 3rd highest paid CU employee in 2025 with a roughly $345,000 $400 salary.
And here we have MSU preparing to host thousands of hot rods as part of the Route 66 Rolling Auto Festival. This was posted about June 8th, and I wanted to reread this because we got a new updated article about it that lists a lot of the automobiles that pass through town. A special event featuring thousands of hot rods coming to Springfield will significantly change parking lot assignments and traffic around Missouri State University on June 11th. More than 5,000 vintage automobiles will visit Springfield on Thursday as part of the 2026 Hot Rod Power Tour, a rolling car festival that is paying special attention to Route 66 this year. Admission is free and open to the public. The cars will be at MSU from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. The tour will start on Monday, June 8th in Joliet, Illinois, and will wrap up Friday, June 12th in Tulsa. Springfield is the designated day 4 stop of the tour. The hot rods will park in lots on Grand Street, just south of Plaster Stadium, and at other lots across campus. The Bears are out of season, so the university is rolling out the red carpet by opening its expansive athletic field parking lots to host the event. That timing is important. If all spring classes were in session, Missouri State may not have been able to handle the extra traffic, said Robert Rowley, Director of University Safety. It's going to use up almost all of our parking for the day on campus, Rowley said. We do exist here for the students, and I don't think there would have been anything we could have done with all our community students. Not that we wouldn't have wanted it, but I don't think logistically it would have pulled off in the middle of the school year. The tour, with its thousands of participants, is set to roll into Springfield around 11 a.m. on Thursday, which was yesterday. Rowley said between the tour participants and interested car fans who want to see all the unique vehicles. Rowley said people traveling around campus will see increased traffic. The university is working with the Springfield Police Department, Springfield Fire, and Greene County Office of Emergency Management and Emergency EMS to manage the event. Tour organizers said that the particular tour across the Mother Road has been years in the making. Route 66 is celebrating its centennial this year. Springfield was designated as the site of kickoffs events and held a multi-day celebration back in April. Using MSU's lots to make logistical sense because it is the largest source of parking with the closest proximity to downtown Route 66 features. Tour organizers plan a different route every year, Rowley said, and place a priority on traveling Route 66 during the centennial. Rowley said that tour organizers approached the city, which in turn reached out to Missouri State. Tour organizers are compensating Missouri State about $20,000 for parking spaces and other arrangements. While the event will be disruptive, it will also offer great exposure for the university, Rowley said. Why wouldn't we want to have this event here, we thought? It's going to bring a ton of people here who wouldn't normally be here to see Missouri State University, and we want people to see what we have here. According to a study from Visit Springfield, the event has the potential to bring in $1.8 million through direct or indirect sales, and Rowley said it will help test the university's preparation for the weeknight football games this fall. And for the car enthusiasts out there, we have some photos from the Hot Rod Power Tour that was yesterday. First, we start off with a photo of the hood of a red Chevrolet C10 that was parked outside Betty and Bobby Allison Recreation Field. Thousands of vintage automobiles visited Springfield yesterday, June 11th, as part of the 2026 Hot Rod Power Tour, a rolling car festival that is paying special attention to Route 66 this year. The tour started on Monday, June 8th in Joliet, Illinois, and will wrap up on Friday, June 12th in Tulsa. Springfield is the designated day 4 stop of the tour. Hot rods were parked in lots on Grand Street just south of Plaster Stadium and other lots across campus. And here we have a photo of the hood and front windshield of a blue Chevy Camaro SS that was parked outside of Missouri State's Alpha Omicron Pi Delta Gamma chapter house. Beautiful shade of blue. And then we have an orange Dodge Super B that was parked outside of Robert J. Plaster Stadium on the campus of Missouri State. The bright orange of the car is definitely standing in contrast with the gray buildings. A vintage cream and cherry red Ford F-100 was parked outside Foster Recreation Center. And then we have an orange Chevy Malibu that was parked outside of the Great Southern Bank Arena and definitely complementing the logo. A blue rusted and well-used Chevrolet was parked outside of Kappa Sigma Mu Row Chapter House. Beautiful shades of blue and white.
And we would like to wish a happy birthday to some celebrities celebrating today. First of all, let's start with the late, great Anne Frank, who was born on this day in 1929. Celebrating today, rapper Don Toliver turns 32. Country singer Chris Young turns 41. Actor Dave Franco, you might know him from 21 Jump Street and Now You See Me. He is 41 today. Actor Rick Hoffman from the shows Suits and Billions turns 56. West Wing actor Timothy Busfield turns 69 today. And Sopranos actor Paul Schultz turns 64. You might remember him as Father Intantola on The Sopranos. And speaking of entertainment and the arts, the Springfield Art Museum Foundation receives endowment fund gifts from 4 families. Jeff Kessinger with Springfield Daily Citizen says, thanks to gifts from 4 families, the Friends of the Springfield Art Museum has announced the establishment of an endowment fund that will benefit museum programs and foundation operations. The gifts come from Matt and Jenny Edwards, Julie Ayton Leith, and Sally Ayton Baird, in memory of their parents, Nancy J. and Ray F. Ayton, the Michael K. Carley Trust, and the late Dr. Sandra L. D'Angelo. Quote, endowments are the unsung heroes of nonprofit support, Kate Francis, the foundation's executive director, said in a media release. Long-term restricted investments augment annual operating needs and help organizations weather a changing economic and or philanthropic environment. Endowment gifts, whether gifts of cash or estate plans, have lasting impact for an organization and the community for many generations to come. Friends of the Springfield Art Museum, also known as the Springfield Art Museum Foundation, has also announced new board leadership. Starting July 1st, Matthew Edwards will become the foundation's chair and Aaliyah Lee will become the vice chair. Jason Rader will become the foundation's secretary, while Brian Reedy will continue working as the treasurer. Other foundation board members are Howard Kavner, Lester Gibson, Shay Johnson, Sarah Kerner, Brian Musgrave, Jesse Tyler, Chris Weiss, and Sonia Wise. The Museum Governance Board sits ex officio on the foundation board. The Friends of the Springfield Art Museum is also establishing an emeritus board, and Sally Baird has been appointed as the inaugural member after her resignation from the oversight board. Baird's parents both served on the museum board, and she followed in their footsteps. Baird has served as museum docent, donor, and volunteer in addition to her board service. She started working on the fledgling foundation in 2018 as the initial 30-year site plan was developed, and it became clear that the city-owned museum would benefit from a private foundation to help fundraise for the transformative renovation and expansion project currently underway. Quote, Sally, along with other board members named, have been instrumental in realizing the ambitious goals set by both the museum in terms of facility expansion and modernization, along with programmatic growth, Francis said. The foundation plays a significant role in raising the funds to support both of those important museum functions. We would not be here today without Sally's tireless efforts, sage advice, encouragement, and fierce advocacy for all the arts in Springfield.
Here we got a couple of 417 events happening this weekend. We have the World Cup Kickoff Block Party on C Street at Mumble's 1888. Location is 504 East Commercial Street. Our friends at Eurasia Coffee Co. and your favorite football pub are teaming up for a World Cup Kickoff Block Party on historic C Street. Join us this Friday, today, June 12th at 1 p.m. for a family-friendly party packed with food, drinks, ice cream, outdoor screens, indoor TVs, and C Street fun. Canada kicks off their World Cup at 2 p.m. against Bosnia and Herzegovina, and we're ending the night with a watch party for the ages at the USA begins their World Cup Tour campaign at 8 p.m. against Paraguay. We also have Romance in the Garden tonight at 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Mizumoto Japanese Stroll Garden at Nathaniel Green. The price to entry is $25. Indulge in a 21 plus candlelight visit to Mizumoto Japanese Stroll Garden with a charcuterie picnic box and non-alcoholic beverages with beer and wine available for purchase. Also tonight is family fishing fun at Rutledge Wilson Farm Park. The location for that is 3825 West Farm Road 146 in Springfield. The price is $10 to $15, $10 if you bring your own gear and $15 for a rental. Bring the whole family out to Rutledge Wilson Farm Park for a catch and release fishing, a bounce house, cow train, and campfire cooking. Registration is required ahead of time. This Saturday on the lawn, we have Relax, Recharge, and Reconnect on the lawn at Springfield Art Museum. Each month, the museum's Hatch Lawn comes alive with a drop-in outdoor activities, including hands-on art, experiences for all ages, yoga, and wellness sessions, Fast Night Creek cleanup, volunteering for live music, yard games, and more. All activities are free, but some may require pre-registration to allow for supplies and staff. Here we have... All right. Drop in anytime, bring a lawn chair, blanket, or picnic, a sketchbook, or simply yourself. Can't wait to see you on the lawn. And it looks like this one is from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. and they also have the additional dates for the rest of the year. I'll read those off as they go. And we also have Ozarks Pride Fest this Saturday, June 13th at Park Central Square. Come one, come all. Ozarks Lunkers home game. I'm a big Lunkers fan myself. This Saturday at 6:30 p.m. at the 301 North Grand Avenue at Wilson's Logistics Arena. It's the best combination of football and air conditioning out there. Tea time at the Marley House this Sunday, June 14th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. out at 802 Finley Farms Lane. Part of the Finley Farms Summer Tea Time series, the historic Marley House hosts a tea event which features a tower of sweet and savory bites with your choice of tea from Phoenix Tea Company. Get out there and have some fun.
Absolutely. The first event you mentioned there, the block party happening this afternoon at Mumbles 1888. I have actually spoken to the owners of Mumbles and Eurasia. They are going to have carnival games, large TVs outside for viewing. Eurasia will be serving their new handmade ice cream. It's sure to be a great time. Definitely want to get out there this afternoon and enjoy that beautiful weather.
So nice.
And speaking of weather, Steve Pokin, our answer man, answers, what does city utilities think about small solar panels you can plug into an outlet? This is from the Springfield Daily Citizen and begins with a photo of some plug-in solar panels on an apartment balcony. Answer man, do you have any idea how city utilities views small home solar panels that can be plugged into an electrical outlet? Jim Fuqua, unincorporated Greene County. Jim sent me a link to a March 12th NPR story by Jeff Brady that aired on Morning Edition. So before I get to what city utilities has to say about plug-in solar panels, let me provide the highlights of the NPR story so you know what I'm talking about. These small solar panels are often placed on balconies or backyards. They generate enough electricity to power a refrigerator or microwave. They're trending in Germany, where more than 1.2 million are registered with the government, according to the story. A California nonprofit called Bright Saver is a major advocate in the United States. The story states, quote, for the panels to become more widely available in the U.S., state lawmakers are proposing bills that eliminate complicated utility connection agreements, which are required for larger rooftop solar installation and, most utilities say, should apply to plug-in solar too. Those agreements, along with permitting and other installation costs, can double the price of solar panels. But the drive toward plug-in solar is facing pushback from electric utilities. They are raising safety concerns and prompting legislators to delay votes on the bills. The main safety concern seems to be that since the panels generate electricity rather than use it, when power is thought to be off or shut down, they possibly could shock someone, perhaps a line worker working on restoring power. Some power companies say that while they know where rooftop solar panels are, they would not necessarily know where plug-in panels are. They also don't know if the small panels installed by customers have received UL Solutions certification. Cora Stryker with the California nonprofit Bright Saver said in the NPR story, these safety concerns have already been addressed and the utility companies are worried about losing business. Other advocates point out that the panels have been used in Germany for nearly a decade, and that with more than 1 million systems installed, safety has not been an issue. Okay, have you followed me so far? I called Jamie Presley, spokeswoman for City Utilities, and I sent her a link to the NPR story. In turn, Presley obtained the following response from Marcia McClanahan, Director of Energy Services at City Utilities. Quote, City Utilities does not currently have a policy specific to plug-in solar panels, sometimes referred to as balcony or patio solar panels. However, we are discussing whether a program is needed specifically for this technology, such as an interconnection process similar to our existing net metering program. The interconnection process ensures customer-owned equipment meets safety and technical requirements before connecting it to the electrical grid. Our electrical team views plug-in solar panels much like portable generators because both can produce electricity for a home and pose similar safety risks if not installed correctly. Improper installation can result in backfeeding. This is when electricity flows back into power lines, creating a dangerous situation for utility crews working to restore power. For the safety of our customers and our employees, we encourage customers to install these panels according to manufacturer specifications and to use a licensed electrician to review their breaker box before installation. As an added safety measure, we are researching whether an interconnection process is needed to help ensure these systems are installed safely. City Utilities is supportive of solar energy. We encourage customers to thoroughly research their options, including expected output, the impact on bills, and the anticipated payback period. Understanding the potential savings on the electric portion of their CU bill before making an investment is crucial. Our Smart Solutions team is available to answer questions about plug-in solar panels as well as full-scale systems and can be reached at 417-874-8200. This is Answer Man column number 178.
Here on Springfield Business Journal, we have a open for business Poppy & Co. salon. Emma Fair became a first-time business owner with the March 10th launch of Poppy & Co. Salon, LLC. Fair said the downtown Springfield hair salon at 212 West McDaniel Street fills space formerly occupied by martial arts school Kokoro Training Academy. With past hair salon experience in Salt and Light Salon, LLC, Fair said she began seeking an opportunity last summer to strike out at her own. A former West Plains resident, Fair said she moved to Springfield in 2023. She said owning her own business has been a long-time desire, adding the salon is named in honor of her grandfather, who she called Poppy. She declined to disclose startup costs or lease terms for the venue. Fair leads the staff of five at the 1,800 square foot salon, which offers haircuts, highlights, blowouts, extensions, among its services. Prices for most services range anywhere between $45 to $225 according to its website. Here we also have a Hollister coffee shop set to change hands. An ownership change is poised to take place on Friday for a Hollister coffee shop. Matt Farmer said he and his wife Jessica are exiting Vintage Paris LLC, the 17-year-old business they've owned since 2012. The Farmers are selling the venture for undisclosed terms to another married couple and frequent customers, Grayson and Mary Smither. The long-term Vintage Paris owners began considering the sale of the shop last year and started conversations about the possible transaction with the Smithers in November. The complexity also needs of the business didn't match the focus Farmer said he and his wife had to offer to it anymore, a realization partly impacted by health issues with their now 3-year-old son. A lot of our family priorities shifted and it caused us to be less present at the coffee shop, Farmer said. Vintage Paris just kept getting busier and more complex and more to manage. Our absence and more complexity doesn't make a lot of sense for a business. The Farmer said closure for the shop was a consideration, but the opportunity to sell to the Smithers, who the couple also call friends, came along at the right time. The Smithers were looking to purchase a coffee shop elsewhere, but with no fruition. It was exactly what they wanted and needed, but they didn't realize it was going to be an option for us, Farmer said, so it worked out really well. Vintage Paris has been a second family to us, and our hearts are full at the opportunity to take the baton from Matt and Jessica and continue to steward Vintage Paris in a way that glorifies our Lord and serves a wonderful community, Grayson said in a Facebook post. We are committed to honoring the legacy that Matt and Jessica have left with Vintage Paris. The farmers purchased Vintage Paris 14 years ago from the original owners Mike and Kelly Clumman and moved the shop across town in late 2021 to its current home at 9700 State Highway 165, according to past Springfield Business Journal reporting. The couple opened a second store with a different menu dubbed Collective Coffee Shop in 2018. That store aside Bloom Church, 2353 State Highway 248 in Branson, shuttered in 2023, Farmer said. In addition to his involvement with Vintage Paris, Farmer, who previously worked for Cox Health, had been employed since March in a remote job as program director for digital health at Akron Children's Hospital in Ohio. His wife plans to remain a stay-at-home mom to their 2 children. We felt very emotional about it when we were making the decision and talking through it, but as we're getting closer, there's so much peace that what we can't be involved in, that we can't contribute for our community and for the business, they're going to be able to do that for us, he said of the new owners. In the Facebook post, the farmers said gift cards will continue to be honored after the ownership transition. Those who have scheduled a mobile coffee cart event will not be impacted, nor will the orders and accounts of wholesale clients of the company's rostery. Farmer told Springfield Business Journal that all 18 of the coffee shop's employees are expected to stay on amid the transition. He said the company is coming off a strong revenue year of $500,000 and added he and his wife won't be a stranger to the business or Hollister community they will continue to call home. We'll be staying on to support Grayson and Mary for not just the transition period over the next few weeks, but also long term. I'm going to be available as just a good friend or a consultant or whatever capacity it turns out to be for a long time. We're excited to be able to help them along that journey and then also be able to go to Vintage Paris and enjoy it ourselves.
And poking around one more time today, we find out, how did Matthew Good, the banker, become Mr. Wicked, owner of Wicked Superstore? Steve Pokin with the Springfield Daily Citizen brings us the story that says, how did a guy who seemingly worked for Springfield State Farm agent Bob Burke for 13 years and then as a banker for 3 years morph into Mr. Wicked? Matthew Aaron Good, 47, of Springfield, created the Wicked Superstore on Kearney Street in March of 2023. In social media, he is known as Mr. Wicked, a man who leads the wicked life. It's hard for me to discover the reasons behind Good's dramatic change in career path without his help, and he's not talking to me. But what I can do here is tell you what's available through public records and Good's own Facebook page. His June 2019 promotion at Central Bank of the Ozarks was featured in the Springfield News-Leader. Quote, Matt Good, the Business Development Officer in the Business Banking Department. Good has over 15 years of experience in the financial service industry and is responsible for building and strengthening new and existing business banking relationships. Fast forward to this month, his smoke shop, Wicked Superstore, was raided the morning of June 2nd by agents of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Other law enforcement agencies assisted. Most of the store's inventory was seized, according to former employees. The reason for the raid has not been publicly disclosed. It does not appear charges have been filed. Last week, the Springfield Daily Citizen interviewed former employees who said they were not paid for their final week of work and were told the store was closed indefinitely. They also said they were unaware of any illegal activity. Wicked Superstore is a smoke shop. It advertises itself as, quote, Springfield's only 24-hour superstore and home of the $4.20 flavor of the day. Area's largest selection of nicotine and THCA vapes, legal shrooms, glass and water pipes, wraps, incense, torches and lighters, butane, novelties, accessories, and more. Most of the store's social media messaging ends with the same tagline I received when I was at the store in April working on a different story, Stay Wicked. Following is a vehicle with the Wicked Superstore logo that's parked outside of a home owned by Matthew Good. It's a blue sports car with a very colorful logo on the hood. Good owns a home in a nice subdivision just outside the city limits of Southwest Springfield. I stopped by on June 9th and left my card with someone there. The home was easy to spot. A car with various Wicked emblems, the Wicked Mobile, was parked out front. Actually, I once spoke to Good without realizing he was the owner. It was the day after the raid. He and other employees were at the store, which was closed to the public. He had no comment. He declined to identify himself. Good's own Facebook page over the years reflects a change in tone and language as startling as his career change. Here's what he posted on January 20th, 2018, when he left State Farm to work for Central Bank, formerly Empire Bank. After great thought and consideration, I have decided to accept a new career path. I have worked for Bob Burke at State Farm for 13 years. Over that time, I've had wonderful relationships with Bob, my coworkers, and my clients. This was a tough decision because I truly loved my job. However, with change comes growth and new friendships and new opportunities. I'm very excited about starting this new chapter of my life. Thank you to everyone who has been there over the years. I will be at SF for the next 4 weeks to wrap things up and say my goodbyes. 8 years later, on December 15, 2025, he posted 2 photos with an entirely different tone. One photo was from the Wicked Superstore and one from when he was a banker. The heading was, "From Banker to Unbankable." He wrote, "When you get to tell your favorite banker CEO to suck your..." I will censor that. On October 30th, 2025, he posted a video of people dancing in the Wicked Superstore and wrote, "This is just too much fun to be a job." On November 18th, 2025, there was a post under the heading Wicked Life that said, "Just enjoying life. Mr. Wicked is always on top of the world." He posted a meme on March 20th, 25 that read, "I can't tell if I'm going off the censored rails or living my best life. It's such a fine censored line." I don't know how much of Good's online persona is for marketing purposes, but I do know when you make an obscene post about your favorite banker CEO, you risk burning bridges. Following is a photo of Matthew Good at an event in 2019 wearing a suit and tie and looking very clean cut and smiling. And on the right, a photo of Matthew Good adorns the front door of Wicked Superstore, wearing a hoodie and sunglasses with his tongue sticking out. I left a message for State Farm agent Burke. I wanted to ask if he saw any inkling that Good would someday metamorphose into Mr. Wicked. Burke did not call me back. I spoke briefly with Jocelyn Baldner, President and Chief Executive Officer of Central Bank in Springfield. She said she knew Good, worked with him, and had no further comment. Good, according to his LinkedIn profile, left the bank in February 2021. He created Wicked Superstore in March 2023. He grew up in Mountain Grove and graduated from Mountain Grove High School in 1997. He is divorced and the father of 2 adult children. He bought the house outside the city limits of Southwest Springfield in 2009. He is an advocate for the rights of LGBTQ people, a fitness buff, and a man who over the years has been taken to court 8 times by those who alleged he owed them money. 2 of those actions were small claims filings against him. The judgments against him were settled or dismissed months or years later. The Wicked Superstore currently has a $4,248 judgment pending against it from the Missouri Division of Employment Security. The state believes Good has not set aside required funds for employee taxes. Good has filed twice for Chapter 7 voluntary bankruptcy, once in 2003 when he was married and once in 2015 when he was not. According to his 2015 bankruptcy petition, he earned $57,000 annually at State Farm. The Springfield Daily Citizen last week asked the city of Springfield for the number of calls for service made by first responders to Wicked Superstore's address in the year prior to the raid. There were a whopping 158 such calls, according to 911 Director April Ford. The Daily Citizen does not have a breakdown on the nature of the calls. On July 28, 2024, the parking lot of the store was the site of a homicide. Devontae Tavon Grant, 31 from Texas, was shot in the parking lot. He was taken to a hospital where he died. Isaiah Church was charged with the murder in the second degree. The case has not gone to trial and is moving through the court system. This is Poking Around column number 359.
Here we have on Springfield Business Journal, Ozark Tech predicts a higher fall enrollment due to healthcare programs. At a time when most higher education institutions are bracing for lower enrollment, Ozarks Technical Community College is planning for the opposite. The start of the fall semester is more than 2 months away, but preliminary students' numbers are encouraging. As a retreat for OTC Board of Trustees in early June, college officials said enrollment compared to the same time a year ago was up 7%, buoyed by a high interest in health sciences. Matt Simpson, Chief Research and Governmental Affairs Officer at Ozarks Tech, said there was also an uptick in the average number of credit hours students were taking. Our biggest growth was in health sciences like it was in the summer, he said at the June 3rd retreat in Branson. Simpson said an expansion of courses through the Alliance for Healthcare Education was driving growth, starting at a 19% increase in high school students enrolled in the middle college program. High school students can train to become a certified nursing assistant or emergency medical technician or take a general health sciences track. The alliance is in partnership between Cox Health, Missouri State University, OTC, Springfield Public Schools to provide access to affordable training aimed at addressing workforce shortages in healthcare. The headquarters for the alliance is at Cox North Hospital and is expanded space that was home to the private Cox College, which will cease to exist in 2027. Ozarks Tech Chancellor Hal Hidgen said the alliance was created to provide a more affordable way to enter or advance in the healthcare sector. The college has expanded the number of sports and selected programs such as nursing and respiratory therapy, among others. Simpson said as an interest in health science programs expands, more students are also signing up for the biological clinical science programs. It's the program students enroll in when they're working to try and get one of the selective programs, he said. He said the other academic division where enrollment is up is the arts, sciences, and businesses, which offer 28-degree programs. Simpson said interest in technical education programs appear to be relatively flat for the fall semester, but that could change. You'll see a lot of You'll see a lot of volatility in the daily numbers, he said, adding the college feels very good about where we're at right now. As part of the update, Ozarks Tech looks at the average age of students, which has been hovering at 19, and the way they are participating in courses. Simpson said in-person or seated courses are still the top preference, but online courses are a close second. Other options include dual credit courses, often offered at a high school level, live online courses, and hybrid. Our seated courses, the average age is 19. If you look at our online courses, the average is 21, and that speaks to the flexibility, he said. Older students, especially the more they are working, they need this flexible course offerings. Tying into that, Ozarks Tech nears final design for the Grand Central Station of Springfield campus. A complicated plan to renovate the Springfield headquarters for OTC has advanced to the rendering stage. Work on the Information Commons building along Chestnut Expressway just east of Sherman Avenue is expected to start in early 2027 and take 2 years to complete. The building is now literally the center of campus. It has become Grand Central Station, Rob Rector, Executive Vice Chancellor of Administrative Services, said. Not only is it going to be a place to house classrooms as well as services for students and employees, it becomes a central point of transportation, so we have to make the most of it. Amy Bacon, Chief of Staff at Ozarks Tech, said the project is expected to cost up to $25 million based on the final design and will be paid for by college funds and private donations. Information Commons is home to the Ozarks Tech Administration, Human Resources, Financial Aid, Recruitment, Career Services, College Leadership, and the Culinary Arts and Esports program. Rector said the building has been added onto multiple times over the years, and the renovation will improve foot traffic flow and help students better navigate the hallways. He said perplexing features, including these side-by-side stairways, a confusing room number system, and an elevator that doesn't really go anywhere, will be fixed. There are entrances on the north and south sides of the buildings, but the process of traversing through is not intuitive. Since more parking is available north of the building, many students walk through it to get to other parts of the campus. Rector said the mid-August opening of the Michael L. Parsons Student Union, or the U, as it will be called, will allow Ozarks Tech to shift certain amenities and services out of Information Commons, freeing up 20,000 square feet. The shifts include the library, tutoring and learning services, the writing center, and places to eat. In September 2025, the Ozarks Tech's Board of Trustees hired Paragon Architecture, LLC for $711,000 to redesign 72,000 square feet of the building. Shortly before that vote, the board allocated $2.1 million to renovate the east part of the building, including $1.3 million to MSI contractors, following a water leak which damaged part of the first and second floors. The work in that section was also designed by Paragon, so it will fit the overall plan for the building, officials say. Hal Hidgen, Chancellor of Ozarks Tech, said bids for the larger project are expected to be submitted to the board for approval by the end of this year. Rector said a major step will be to create a main entrance on the north side of the building, and after reconfiguration, the center of the building create a large passageway. Part of that plan is to cluster student support services in one area, making it easier to navigate as part of the presentation. Rector provided conceptual drawings of the floor plan and renderings of what key spaces will look like once more complete. The board meeting room will be reoriented to reduce noise and create a better use of the space. He said the work will be done in multiple phases, with staff shifting internally based on what renovations are happening. Thank you for listening to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. Tune in every week, Monday through Friday, on the Blind Community Thrift Store's YouTube channel at 10 a.m. for more up-to-date news from the Springfield News-Leader, Springfield Daily Citizen, Springfield Business Journal, and 417 Magazine. Listen after we are live on Audio Reader Network at www.reader.ku.edu. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving pre-programmed radio.